Behind every great result, there's a story of innovation and collaboration.
There's a lot more collaboration between our customer and us, and it's because we can share data.
Our Proficy software customers aren't just clients, they're partners in progress. For more than 20 years, we've worked with you to accelerate the digital revolution and drive real results within your industrial operations.
The software takes production data and used to make sure that machine operators and managers are able to make the right decisions at the right time.
Proficy isn't just a tool, it's the engine driving your success forward, and the solution enabling your enterprise to decrease costs, increase profits, reduce waste, improve efficiency, and much more.
The data's in the Proficy system.
But it's not just about the numbers, it's about the people. Together, we empower teams, accelerate innovation, and drive toward a future that's brighter, more sustainable, and more profitable than ever before. We invite you to experience the power of smart and sustainable operations with Proficy from GE Vernova.
I'm moving over to the next slide. My name is Paul Adams. I'm the director of the Solution Provider Program in the Americas. I'm joined today by Hans Lindgaard, who is the scheduler leader. Most of you should know Hans running into him. So today's event is part of our system integrator educational series called Tech Talk. And it's intended to raise awareness and knowledge of our new products, enhancements, and technology trends with the goal of helping you, our SIs, improve productivity, solve customer challenges, and uncover new revenue opportunities. So Proficy Scheduler Robex has been part of our portfolio for a while, but it's now owned by GE Vernova. We're excited today to provide you with information on how to position Proficy Scheduler Robex with your customers. As a systems integrator, your expertise is invaluable to your customers, and today we intend to provide you information that can add further value to your install base. So just a few housekeeping things before we start. The buttons that you see in the tool. So we have an orange chat bubble, so you can submit your questions throughout the session. We'll try to answer those at the end of the session. If we don't get to your question, we'll follow up via email. The purple email icon, you can contact myself for more information on our solution provider program. Please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to talk to our SIs and make sure that you're getting a good experience with the program. The blue paper clip icon, you can access several additional resources, including access to training and product information, as well as additional ways to hear updates from us. The question mark button, you can get technical assistance. But one tip is if you refresh your browser, that'll fix most issues that you're having. And then finally, the pink clipboard icon. We love to get feedback from you on what you're experiencing with your customers with the program. So please feel free to enter information in there and we can reach out, have a conversation, and we'll go from there. So the safe harbor slide, during this session, we may share things on the future roadmap of enhancements that are not committed yet. So you can always check back to us to see what's in the latest release and what is coming, but I just want to make sure we're set with that. So I just want to remind everybody that today's session is being recorded, and we'll send the recorded session as well as the slides out via email. So be on the lookout for that. So with that, today's subject matter expert is Hans Lindgaard. He brings a wealth of knowledge to today's topic. Hans is the product manager for Proficy Scheduler and has a long history of positioning and implementing finite capacity solutions for customers. Hans has been with GE Vernova for many years, focusing on finite capacity scheduling with Proficy Scheduler. And I've worked a long time with Hans. He's very passionate about the topic and a subject matter expert. So looking forward to a great session today. So Hans, with that, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, Paul. All right, I will move on with the slide. Here we go. As you just mentioned, I've been working with GE Vernova or GE before turning into Vernova many years. But in almost a year ago, GE Vernova acquired the robotics company, and I'm one of the co-founders of the robotics company. I'm very excited to be part of GE Vernova now. And Proficy Scheduler will be the name going forward, but there's a large install base that knows the name robotics, and I might, from time to time, it might slip my mind and I call it robotics, but it's the same as the Proficy Scheduler. So this is a dedicated tool for production scheduling to allocate, optimize the allocation of production tasks to work centers. And I'll dive into that a bit more. And also I will touch on that this runs standalone entirely, but also typically integrated with either or both of ERP or actually entirely embedded into an MES solution. But I'll dive into that a little bit later also. So the topics for today are, first of all, to define scheduling, because this it's not really ERP, it's not really automation, it's somewhere in between with an overlap to both. So I just want to make it really clear for the SIs, for you to see what space is this actually, what are we addressing here, where does it fit in with other products and so on, and then briefly give you a look of what the product is, and also importantly talk about where to play, meaning who are the potential customers, where do we have a very good market fit for this, and once addressing these customers, what are the problems we can solve for our customers, you can solve for your customers with this product, and most importantly, what kind of value can that drive? What are the value propositions we are offering customers with this? And usually that's a very clear case in most customer cases that we come across. So first, moving into production scheduling, giving an overview of that. I think I trust you've seen this one before. Now with the Proficy Scheduler fitted on the top there, in between the ERP level and above, and the MES. And this is the Proficy stack that I'm sure you know quite well. So this is where the scheduler usually would sit in that stack. So you could have different implementations of this stack. It could be the scheduler alone. It could be scheduler integrated with an ERP system. It could be scheduler integrated with the MES system, embedded into the MES system, or in some cases the scheduler connecting the ERP with the MES. So there are many different architectures depending on the architecture already in place at the customers and the requirements for a solution like that. But this is just to position it in the Proficy suite. So if we zoom in on that ERP level, scheduling level, and MES level on the next slide here. So on ERP level, we have typically what's called or referred to as the master production scheduling schedule, and basically that's defining what number of what finished goods do we need to deliver when. So basically, this is what's the outcome of the production that we want to achieve. And once we have defined that, typically based on orders or forecasts or stock replenishment orders, but once we have that on ERP level, many other things going on ERP, but very close to the production scheduling, this is what takes place. And the next step after the master production scheduling is to do the material requirements planning. So basically figure out what do we need to purchase in raw materials or intermediate materials, and also to produce internally as intermediate materials. And in that process, we're starting to define purchase orders for raw materials, but also define the work orders that we need to schedule in the production. And both are quite important in the scheduling, detailed scheduling to follow. So, and this is all based on bill of materials that are usually maintained on this level as well. And typically on ERP level, with these activities, the horizon is weeks to months and maybe even longer. And frequency is days or weeks. So this is the kind of speed and time horizon people are working with these topics on ERP level. Then moving down to detailed scheduling, then we actually start to allocate work orders or operations to equipment. We need to consider in what sequence should we produce things on each machine, and even define when do we start and end or expect to start and end individual operations on equipment. And in that process, because now it's getting very close to the execution, so there might be not just orders to consider, but also the actual situation on the shop floor, machine breakdown, processes running faster or slower than we anticipated, etc. So that kind of feedback will need to be taken into consideration as well. So now we're talking a shorter horizon of days or typically weeks, and the frequency is hours to shifts or days. So it's near real time that planners will work on the detailed scheduling. And from that level on, once we will dispatch from the scheduling level to the execution level, or release the schedule for which will be dispatched on execution level. So this is where we take the intended or the scheduled production and start to distribute out to the allocated machines at the right time, and the process control will start for the execution. There will be monitoring of the progress and quality and other parameters, and also tracking some history. And here the horizon really is real time. What's the next action and so on. So very short time horizon, and then checking in on making sure that we track the history for statistics purpose and other purposes. And typically, again, the sequence here is seconds or minutes, or I guess for processes, milliseconds sometimes. So that's really the difference. So this is all to highlight how scheduling sits in between ERP and some of the activities going on there, and the execution level and the activities going on in there. And on the right-hand side, what you see is what we take down from the ERP level is work orders, bill of materials, the routings, meaning the sequence of operations that each work order goes through. Some details on these operations could be setup time, things like that. But also opening stocks. I'll get back to that. So sometimes we need to make a valid schedule. It's not enough that there's available equipment. We also need materials ready to process. And similar to opening stock, but not quite the same still. Opening stock is stuff that we have on stock. Plant material transactions is things that we expect to have on stock in the future, but also relevant to make a scheduling decision. And all that is coming down from the ERP level. And once the scheduling is done, basically all that we send to the execution level from scheduling level is for each operation, where should it run and when. And basically that is a schedule, who's doing what and when, and that's the outcome of the scheduling for the execution. And what comes back from the shop floor is really what's going on. Has it started? Has it ended? Or what is the progress? And typically from scheduling level to ERP, we will give back that schedule. And in some cases, the only thing that is needed on ERP level is what is the planned completion date for each order, so we can give that back to the customer or check that against the promised delivery date. So this is again just to make really sure that the space I'm talking about today, the space we're moving within with Proficy Scheduler, is that middle block of detailed production scheduling. All right. So still trying to narrow in on what scheduling is all about. This is just really quick to show the data model. And if you take the bright green boxes here, the the core data elements or entities is we have work orders, and each work order has a route, which is a sequence or a network of operations. So it could be one operation, it could be 45 operations or more that are sequential or maybe branch out and run in parallel and branch back together and things like that. So these are all the operations required to fulfill or to produce that order. And each of those operations is shown here. Each of those operations will be assigned to a certain resource or work center at a certain point in time, so a time and a date. And again, that is the in the middle bottom of this slide is really that is the schedule. Operations running on what equipment at what time. Then we can extend a little bit. Some operations we can add the bill of materials, and bill of materials, they have warehouses where they are located. The orders could be part of a project or a sales order. Imagine you get a large sales order for a large piece of equipment, and you would break that down in a manufacturing company to many work orders. So that could be part of the data model as well. And the resources, you can group or gather them in views when you have many to look at. So I mean, while you're planning for laser cutting operation, you don't need to look at anything but the laser cutters. So that's a way to create an overview also. And then most importantly, I would say on the resources, that resources are associated with a calendar showing the availability of that resource. And there's some parameters to that also on how much capacity. Maybe you have two similar machines, but one is running newer and running a bit faster, but they can do the same. So all these master data on the equipment, and it's very important to do the finite capacity schedule. So again, just to stress that these are the data that we need and that we are working on with Proficy Scheduler. If you have other data, you see there's not a lot of quality information here or historic information, and that's because it's not really front and center for the scheduler. But these data types they are. Looking also at this production scheduling stakeholders, because we have the production planner in the middle. He or she is the intended user of the tool. They will use that to optimize the detailed production schedule. But around that in the organization, there will be other people that are stakeholders to that, from the CEO to the operators. And the CEO might want to look at KPIs. And typically, CEOs are looking at historic KPIs. How did we perform? But with the planner scheduling solution like this, they could also be looking at expected KPIs, like if we run according to schedule as it looks right now, what will our future due date performance be for the coming 2 or 3 weeks, and then start to react on that while you actually have a chance to do something about it. Could also be typically workload. They're interested in, do we have certain bottleneck machines and things like that. Could be very individual. Other people in the organization could be in sales, trying to design a sales strategy based on the capacity available, or just simply a customer calling in and say, hey, how's my order doing? Is it on time? When can I expect it? And so on. And that would be data that we could find and share from the production schedule. And in spite of the MRP, on ERP level, the material requirements planning, we see often that purchasing managers or purchasing staff is consulting the detailed schedule to check out when do we more specifically or very precisely need different parts that we need to purchase. So in order to just in time purchasing or deliveries of raw materials or purchase components that need to be assembled on our products in manufacturing, purchase managers can use the schedule as a more precise report of the demand for raw materials and intermediate materials or components based on a more detailed schedule. And again, human resource managers could use the schedule to look at future staff needs. If, for instance, if production is using temps to part of the process. But the most important and often involved in the planning really is the production personnel and the production manager. And the personnel will be looking at the schedule because they will be the people executing it. but it's also allowing them to see whatever I'm working on right now or next, where's it coming from and where's it going. So they start to get some context into what they are doing, and might use that context and insight and their experience to engage in the scheduler, to feedback to the production plan and say, I think we have a problem here, or we have an opportunity over here. So if you do like this and that, it's good for the company. Or they could simply check up on their colleagues, say, hey, what we're working on tomorrow, how is that going? Can we expect to get that? Because they suddenly have this visibility up and downstream. So the bottom line here really is there's a lot of stakeholders involved in detailed scheduling, and we can drive value for all of them. So this is what the product looks like. Maybe you've seen it or seen a demo or video of this, but this is the so-called web planner. So this is a web technology-based latest release of the software. There's an older and still deployed so-called thick client or on-prem solution, but this is has been rewritten over the last few years simply to get the cloud ready. So this is where the focus is right now, and this is what it looks like. And we are deploying the web planner, and you can actually deploy a hybrid architecture with the on-prem solution and some web planners, and the web planner can be deployed on-prem as well, but also hosted on a cloud. So what the tool does is it does automatic and manual planning. So it's a visual editor of a production plan, but it's also an automatic planner that you can apply planning logic to solve problems for you or sort out the schedule. And it will do that based on constraints and some parameters you can set to achieve a certain result with the schedule. Certain customers need to maybe have specifically important customers where we need to plan those orders first and make sure that they get through, and other products or internal products to produce for stock that they can wait till we can fill up empty spaces with other orders when we have the custom orders allocated to machines and so on. It runs in a standard browser. It does capacity scheduling and activity scheduling, and the difference there is really activity is who's doing what, and the capacity scheduling is making sure that whoever or whatever machine we allocate, that it has the time and capability to run these orders. So it's a finite capacity scheduling tool, and I've always thought that infinite planning doesn't really make sense. It might at some levels, but at this level, you want to make sure that whatever the plan says, it's actually doable because you have those capacities available. And this is what the tool will help you to ensure. It runs integrated or standalone, but integrated with ERP and MES. And looking at this tool right now, it could be in planning mode. But once you release the plan, this same view will actually become a dashboard. So it will start to light up and show which orders are started and which are progressed and which are running behind schedule, which are running ahead. So without leaving the planning tool, you will still be looking at the plan, but now it's just a dashboard updated typically with data from MES or from the internal data collectors that we have in the planner as well. As you can see, it's very visual, and to change anything, you don't open up tables. Well, for something you do, but typically you can just take these orders and drag them along. And while you do that, you could see on the below graphs, you would see how will that shift workload versus capacity. How would that shift consumption of raw materials or production of finished goods and so on. So many planners, they live in a reality where they have to simulate a little bit to find out what's the best plan we can do. So just to try out and do what if simulation, that's what the tool is designed for. And once you do that, whether it's automatically or manually planned, the tool will immediately show you the consequences of the plan changes that you are trying out before actually committing them. So what it does contain on the left-hand side is the work centers, and the production orders are the colored bars, and then we have the calendar by the gray shaded bars showing when the equipment is available. And the routings, but I briefly explained, this is all the steps that each work order will go through. And there's a lot of customization possible. So what text do you see? What color schemes do you use? And of course, what does the routings look like? What is the work centers that you have? What is their calendars? And so on. So finally, just want to mention that this is born as a multi-user system. So you can log in several people working on the same plan. If I'm looking at this and someone else has the right to change the plan that I'm looking at, I will see jump on my screen. So in that sense, and that's a competitive advantage over other schedulers. They weren't born multi-users, so some of them can't do it, and others have some poor workarounds to do that. But this is a true multi-user system. So that's a competitive advantage that we have. There's a lot more we can go into the product, but I don't want to delve too much into that today, because I'd like to move on and talk a bit about roadmap and also at the target market. But version 6.7.6 is out, and basically it's all about adding the final functionalities to the web planner, but also to starting integration into Proficy. So looking into next quarter, which is just around the corner, that for version 8, we will launch a version that is ready for cloud hosting. So that would be as a SaaS solution, and it will be much deeper integrated with Proficy. So authentication for login, it's already partly that on the web client, but that'll be full. There'll be more language support and some extra features added as well. So there's a lot of things going on in engineering to increase the content or the features of the scheduler. So, but version 8.0, that'll be a big move into having a version available for cloud. Right now, you can run 6.7.6, but you need your own cloud to do that. From version 8, we can start to offer cloud solutions. And finally, coming up next year will be further integration with operations hub or ops hub, and also with the plans apps and the data hub. It's already partly integrated, but also continuously extending that integration, and that the end goal is to be a fully integrated part of the Proficy suite, and that's moving quite fast now, because that's really the main priority of the engineering. So stay tuned to what's coming out in these versions. So integration, as system integrators, I think this is one of the important aspect, but rest assured that the core data model is very similar for Scheduler and other ERP, or the other systems, ERP and MES. So it's not like it's different worlds. They're very much alike. So it's a field mapping exercise mostly. But as you well know, there's some work involved with that. But this is absolutely doable. We've been doing this for many years, and for some ERPs we have standard connectors that we just pull off the shelf and connect to the ERPs. And if we run into a new ERP that we haven't seen before, it's there's a little project to build that connector, and you can do that on your own based on the interface that we have. Typically, what we establish is a two-way connection to either ERP or MES or both. Sometimes it's more critical that we get stuff from ERP and we don't have to feed back to ERP, but usually there's a little bit of flow back to the ERP on the scheduled delivery dates, but not a lot of detail. But if we run with an MES system, it's more detailed. So the entire schedule will go to the the MES, but also the MES would constantly update us on the progress on the shop floor. A few ERP has that ability, so that really depends on the system landscape that the customers have. But then again, the system integrators, you would need to go in and explore and assess that whole landscape and build an architecture for your customer that will make this work, because we never move into sometimes we do have a greenfield approach, but if there's a new factory, but typically there are other systems in play already, and we just need to go in there, figure that out, and make the connections. Once these connections are made, it's very busy. They're busy connections, so to speak. So they're continuously updated with feedback from ERP and MES. And like I said, we have standard interfaces for that. But of course, going towards the cloud, there's will be more and more web service or REST-based connectors or other technologies in that region. But historically, it's also been files and databases and so on. And of course, they still exist, but have limitations on the cloud architectures. All right. So where to play, just to address the target industries. We have other industries than these, but these are the sweet spot. This is where we started. This is where we have many references, and where the product match is very good. So this is also fast and not. I think nothing is risk-free, but this is pretty much risk-free because we've done so much in these industries. So first one up from the left-hand side is the metal machining. So that could be mailboxes like the picture here, or anything metal parts where the process are milling, drilling, turning, cutting, welding, surface treatment, and assembly and stuff like that. That's really a sweet spot where you can very quickly deploy the scheduler. Same with what we call mix, fill, pack. So more process or batch oriented. So this could be personal care products, food ingredients, or paint things. So basically, you have a recipe, you mix stuff, you fill it, and you pack it up and label it and ship it, and you're done. That's also a very good match for the scheduler. Plastic injection molding, it's still discrete. It's much like metal machining, but it's a little added complexity because you have tools and sometimes sub-tools in that industry. So that's that extra complexity. We had to make some additions to the product, but once they were in place, we've been very successful to deploy the solution for plastic injection molders, and they make so many plastic products. You're probably sitting on one, or your desk will have components that are injection molded. So this could be car construction components or packaging material, medical devices. So all these plastic parts around. So it's a huge industry and growing industry actually. And the equipment is very expensive, so they really want to have an efficient schedule. And finally, we have what we call machine and equipment manufacturers. So these are companies that make machines or production lines or very huge products that is like a machine. So this could be windmill or just windmill towers or the nacelle of the windmill and all the content. So anything industrial machinery, equipment lines, or process unit for infrastructure like windmill towers and so on. And this is basically, it's the same as discrete, but it's just project oriented. And we have a very powerful solution where you have this, where we combine the project planning with the detailed scheduling. And usually many manufacturers will have two systems for that. We can just bake that into one plan. And that's extremely powerful if you run across a project oriented discrete manufacturer. We have a pretty cool solution for that. Just to look at the target customer profile, we have the small to medium-sized enterprises. So that could be 50 to 500 employees. And then we have large enterprises where we deploy scheduler only. So that could be 500 plus employees. Could be, for instance, we have Novo Nordisk and a few other. These are customers making parts for automobile industry, for by plastic and by metal. And these are multi-site, larger scheduling applications that we deploy. And finally, we have the large enterprise customers, same size, but where scheduler is embedded in MES solutions. And the majority still is small to medium-sized enterprises, but I'm seeing a lot of, we have launched several new projects with enterprises where we embed scheduler even in MES, but also large enterprises where it's scheduler only. So I think there's opportunity in all these different company sizes. Right. The problems that we solve for customers are, in other words, what are the symptoms that you could be looking for with your customers? If they can't keep up with their due dates, if they say they're not productive, if they're firefighting, meaning to expediting production orders, or maybe they have a production schedule, but it's not really shared or nobody believes it because they consider it invalid. If a company does not know what to answer when a customer places an order and says, when can I have my product? If they have difficult to say that, it's insufficient scheduling basically. If they spend a lot of time in meetings, a lot of times in doing the planning, and a lot of times in meetings with often a lot of people to talk about the planning and scheduling, that's another sign of poor scheduling. Lack of overview is also a symptom, and in particular the use of overtime, because this is one of the most popular ways to overcome bad scheduling, is just to deploy some overtime and then fix things. But basically it's about they haven't balanced out their production quite well, and we can help with that and reduce the overtime, which can be very costly for the companies. If you walk the shop floor, you see a lot of parts around waiting in front of and after machines. They have too much work in progress. And they already paid for it, so that's from a financial viewpoint not a good situation, in particular with interest rates above zero now. And it might be as simply as say, yeah, well, we've tried to schedule in Excel or ERP and we're not happy about it. Then it's a clear sign that we should show them Proficy Scheduler. All right. So what we can help with, I'll speed up a little bit, and I've touched on it already, but the lead time in production, the level of work in progress, the amount of overtime, the time they spend on planning, if they suffer from bottlenecks, you can predict these bottlenecks and try to schedule around them and avoid stops in production, because you make a valid schedule where you actually have the materials that you need to run the orders, because you checked them already at the scheduling point in time. If they suffer from a lot of changeover time, we can optimize that sequence so that they can spend more time producing instead of having spending time on changing from one production setup to another. And so there's a whole range of things here that we can that the system will help optimize with them. And that is driving value, of course, because in the end, what we need to look at is how do we create a return on investment for the customer? What is the business case for your customers on this? And basically there are two types, and the traditional one, if you start on the bottom, planning has always been about productivity. So basically, how do we improve the bottom line? But if you think about it, if you have a good plan and you know what goes on in production, you can predict the delivery dates. You can be flexible to customers who wants to change the orders and so on. And that's increasing the customer service. And just a simple fact of delivering on time, that will make you keep customer, but also very quickly to give the due date to a new customer and be able to keep it. That can win a customer, and you can keep them afterwards because you keep doing it. And suddenly the whole planning exercise is about customer service, and customer service, that's driving top line. So a lot of your customers, they might be thinking, hey, how can this improve my bottom line? But then you just need to remind them this will actually also improve your top line. So this could be, not all scheduling suppliers are talking about this topic. So this could be a way to differentiate towards the customer also. But to explode that up to a little bit more detail, basically there are 8 ways to make money on better scheduling. And the percentages here are about how many of our customers are reporting that they are experiencing these financial benefits from using the product. So if you look at the left-hand top corner there, the 100%, so all customers are telling us that they experience lower salary costs, and the background for that, or the reality behind that, really is they spend less time on planning and meetings on planning. So whether it's a real saving, but technically they are spending less dollars on doing the planning, and the other part of it is typically the reduction in overtime. And again, everyone is reporting back that this is one of the benefits that they experience. 91% still a very high number. They increased revenue, and this is the top level of the customer service aspect of it all. And for some, it also just means that if they have capacity and they can increase the utilization because it's low for some reason, and if they're in a market where they can sell everything they produce, it'll mean more product and more revenue. So that's another way of increasing the revenue through scheduling. And again, I'll just stick with the top three here, but the 87% of customers experiencing lower capacity costs, it simply means that instead of buying another line or another machine or another robot, they are able to squeeze more production through what they have already, so they can delay or avoid investments in more technology simply by orchestrating what they have already more efficiently. So, and very often we've done this. These are measurements that we made over time, and it's pretty much every time the top three here comes out as top three. So it's a good place to start to look for value with your customers. But other customers, it might be some of the other contributions, but they're just less generic, so to speak. But this is a cool way to talk to your customers about and start a conversation. How can you make money on scheduling, or how can you justify the investment it is to improve on your scheduling? Just start to look for the value in one or several of these 8 categories, and typically you can build a very good business case based on that. So I think I will skip this one and give the word back to you, Paul, for some extra information.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. So we're going to go to Q&A here. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to answer or to ask some questions. But while we're waiting to do that, a few things. I just want to point you again to the pink survey icon. If you could enter some information there. We're always on the lookout for how we can make it better, our program better for our SIs, how we can support you better, what you'd like to see, etc. So good and bad, please give us some feedback so we have that as well. So just a few things. I want to go to the next slide here. Oh, I don't know if everybody's seeing what I see, but the font's a little off there. So one of the things I've heard when I'm out there talking to SIs is, hey, we want training that we can do quickly. So we're always developing training options that, are short, right? So I asked our training person to tell us. So there's 88 courses currently that can be done within 25 minutes. So take a look at that. I just want to make sure you're aware of that. Also, keep in mind you have the free instructor-led seats for training. So if you go in training and you see something you want to take, you have credits that you can use. So come back and you can do those trainings for free. So please take advantage of that benefit. Here also, just kind of lists the number of courses that we have that are 25 minutes or less. And then at the right-hand side, it shows you a number of the scheduler trainings that are available that you want to see there as well. And then here, and you'll see this, you'll get this sent to you, but the Proficy Scheduler courses and curriculum, there's a lot of training that's available now, new training that's becoming available. We'll be working on a certification for scheduler, so you'll be looking for that as well. And then, and keeping in mind certifications, right? Certifications are available. We're always looking for SIs to have a stronger profile by doing the certifications. So please take that back to your teams, and let's see people get more certifications on the products, the badges, as well as the overall certifications. They really make your profile much stronger. And when we're asked for recommendations, we look for the SIs that are investing there. And then the last comment I'll make is, we have our LinkedIn group within for the Proficy Solution Provider program. So get into that. We send out messages on those on a regular basis for a lot of information. So please get on that as well. So with that, I think we'll move over to Q&A, and I'll take a look and see what questions we have here, Hans, and we'll start from there. Hold on a second. All right. So here's one. What pain points should we be looking for in order to position Proficy Scheduler?
All right. I think on one of the slides there, I showed some typical, what we call symptoms of this. And sometimes you can just watch or listen for it, or the approach that I like is simply to ask them, if somebody calls and say, hey, I don't want to hear about your product, and say, so how are you doing today, and why is that a problem? And then typically you would get exactly what they are struggling with, and we can find ways to address that. So either I would go and look for it, or simply ask for it, and then not present the entire product, but just address the exact pain points that each customer has, which can be quite different from customer to customer. So the slide that I showed, and I think you will take away from this webinar, that's really by experience some of the pain points that we come across most often.
Great. Okay, the next one. I see that human resources is presented as something which could be managed by scheduler, but can the scheduler take into account a skill set of each resource? We had a customer which stated that on each machine they wanted to schedule a minimal skill set of 5 on each machine.
Yeah, good question. Once you configure the system, that we have the operations and the resources, and what you will do is to create basically it's kind of a matrix where you set up what operations can be performed by which machines, and that's a way to control. And when I say machine, I mean resource or work center, and that could be a machine or a line or a person or a group of persons. But you could set that up that this group of person can carry out this kind of activity. So that would be a way to model that. And as part of this question, also I'd like to stress that when we say work center, that this could be a machine or a person or an entire line or a crew or a robot cell or whatever. So that's part of the configuration of the system on what abstraction level do you define when you set that up. And you can also have situation where, for instance, in plastic injection molding industry that I talked about, you would have to do one production operation. You might have as a resource, you would have the machine itself, the tools that go into the machine to make that product, and even some sub tools to go into the mother tool. And then you would have different operators with different profiles. You would need someone to set up the production, which skills to do that. But once the production is running, you would have someone else to monitor the machine and make sure that things are going, and they could monitor multiple machines, so that only a fraction of their time would be allocated to each operation and so on. So you can model all these a scenario, which I think also could be relevant to the question.
Great, thank you. The next one, will the exchange of information between scheduler and plan apps be modified without the need of the additional SQL database, but a more modern interfacing like REST?
Yes, to the rest, we might have instances, and there might be situations where we need to do database access, but everything is going towards the REST approach. Maybe Jens, you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, it's correct that there has been a REST interface for many versions in Scheduler already, but I'm also aware that for some reason the SQL database interface has been used, but I can only say yes, there is a REST interface, and all the work we're doing for also in the next versions for standard interfaces between Plan Apps and Scheduler will also be REST based. So I can only say yes.
Great. I think you already answered this, but maybe elaborate a little bit more on it. Is this available in a SaaS model?
Getting there. Let's say the technology is ready. So we spent several years rebuilding the tool on a technology stack that is what we call cloud ready. And literally, as we speak, we're working to get ready to deploy that on a SaaS platform. It's already we have customer projects and customers running in the cloud based on that, and we want to extend that offer to be much more standardized, so that really when you deploy Scheduler, you can choose SaaS and technically with the software forget about servers, and you'll be up and running once you create the logins. But regarding the timing, Jens, I don't know if you have any more clearer outlook on that, because it's literally going on as we speak.
Yeah, I don't have a date, but I would say it's more months than quarters we're talking about. So we're really getting close. But I can't give a specific date yet, but it's quite close.
Yeah. Let me just add that we are testing it. So for the last at least a year, we've had the software hosted in the cloud, so we can do demos, and we are doing testing on that. We just want to make sure that everything is there with the security and availability and whatnot. So, and ready for deployment.
Great, fantastic. Next question: how is Proficy Scheduler licensed?
It's all either term/subscription license. So the on-prem installed software is a term license with AP, or it is as a SaaS. But in both cases, it's as a subscription type licensing.
Very good. I think you answered some of this, but can Scheduler be used as a standalone application? And then what systems is it typically integrated with?
Yeah, you can. I talked a lot about integrating to ERP and MES, or both, or one of them. But you can actually run it on your desktop, laptop, computer, entirely standalone, and just type in or import from Excel or text files, everything you need to do the planning. That's unusual. I would say pretty much all solutions have an ERP integration, and perhaps now being part of GE Vernova, more and more solutions will be embedded in MES systems. So it's literally a tool or a feature as part of a larger MES implementation. So it's if you rank it, it's probably like most solutions have an ERP integration. Next up is solutions integrated with the ERP and MES, with the small tweak that sometimes the scheduler is the connection between MES and ERP, and sometimes the ERP connects to the ERP and scheduler get its orders and other data from the ERP. But that would be the second option, but that's much more than the ERP option. And finally, we have very few, if any, solutions just running entirely standalone, but it's possible.
The next question: so how do you position this against APS, so customers that have advanced planning systems in their ERP?
Let's put it in this way. Whenever we come across, or I haven't yet come across, a dedicated tool like this as part of an ERP, there are different classes of scheduling solutions. I would call this a very dedicated and an agile APS system, but APS systems sometimes have a lot of functionality in them as well. So it's kind of an elastic concept on the APSs. With the ERP systems, typically a lot of customers or manufacturers are running the detailed planning on ERP level. A lot of them are struggling with it, and that's usually when we are invited in, because we can add, let's call it the best of breed tool to do what the planners want. So many ERP systems have detailed scheduling. Many detailed planners are not happy with the functionality offered by the ERPs, and I think the reason is simply that ERPs were made for something else, and sometimes they have planning, and people can live with that happily for our entire work life, and good for them. But many does not, which is when they come to us and say, hey, we need a dedicated tool that was really built for some detailed planning. It needs to be visual, dynamic, need to have a level of detail that we can't get out of our ERPs, and that's where we come in. So that's how we position towards those solutions.
I'd like more info. Are there data sheets and customer presentations available?
There should be, but I don't know how they are made available to the SI community.
Yeah,
but,
I'll answer that, Hans. So if you have the content, Ben and we have a seismic site that has all information up there. And Ben, maybe you can comment if that's already up there, or we'll get that on that seismic site. And if you're not aware of where the seismic site is, contact us, but that's something you should know.
Yeah, there's quite a few presentations and customer references and that kind of thing is already on the seismic site. Again, yeah, we put it in the newsletter. There's a link in the newsletters as well if you get those. But by all means, reach out to us and we can share the seismic site with everyone. And of course, there's always the product documentation site as well, where you can find all the content there.
Thank you, Ben. That's all I have for questions right now. So I think we've got a few minutes left. I'll give it another minute to see if there's anything there. But I wanted to thank Hans and Jens for coming on today. This is fantastic. We've been doing a lot of events for Scheduler. I think it's a great product that you could bring into your customers. So, there's a lot of support available for you. If you need help or you want some support, we've talked about the business consultants being able to come in and support opportunities for you. So reach out to myself or Ben if we can help you with anything there. We're here to support you in any way we can. Okay.
And maybe I can just add now that since we have a past as not part of GE Vernova, but now we are entirely a part of GE Vernova and the Proficy suite. So the way to get your hands on these licenses for SIs is like you would do with any other product.
Yeah, through GE Vernova. There's a question in the chat about that. So GE Vernova is the place to come for all licensing, definitely. And even for demo licenses as well. There was a question around that. We can, we need to help with the software downloads for system integrators, but what you need to do is reach out to me or Paul in Americas, me in European region, and we can make the request to the team to make those scheduler licenses available to you as part of your program entitlement. Assuming you have the manufacturing execution solution provider license, that's easily done. And we will work on making it just downloadable straight away.
Great. Thank you, Ben. Great. So this recording will be made available to you. We have recorded all our past webinars. Look for more webinars coming up through the rest of the year, and really appreciate your time and attention today. Like I say, always reach out to Ben or myself if there's anything we can do to help support you, our system integrators. Have a great day.
Thank you.